All right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in tonight for our Horizons event. I am Justin Maynard, the Marketing and Communications Director at the AUTMHQ. Tonight, we will have a guest speaker that is a product manager. Before we get started, I wanted to share why we do Horizons. AutomHQ wants to make sure we are providing all of our automites with access and exposure to people who are in the tech space. We bring on guests to explain their background and what kind of jobs they do now. Another reason why we do this program called Horizons is because the problem we see in the tech industry. Number one, the underrepresentation blacks and Hispanics in the tech industry. The way we are addressing this issue is having these types of events where individuals share their journey and speak on how they got into tech and their tips on for people who want to get into tech. The second reason is the lack of talent to meet the demand. There are a lot of individuals that don't have the knowledge of all the tech opportunities, and not enough people are interested in those opportunities that have the skills and the experience to participate in the tech industry. Horizons is one of the programs we have where we're engaging and bringing people into the tech space. This isn't the only program we do for exposure into tech. We also host a day in a life events where individuals talk about their current career and what it's like to work in tech at that company that they're working at. Hey, how's it going, Akwande? Glad to see you again. But all right, now that we're getting started, I'm gonna bring up our guest speaker, Nigel. All
Hey,
right.
thank you for the intro, Justin.
Hey, how's it going? I'm glad to have you. Tell us a little bit about your current title, the company you work with, and how you got into the role that you're in.
All right, yeah. So my title, my role is a product manager. As far as like where I'm currently working, I'm in between jobs, but I was at Atlassian. That was my last workplace. I've worked at Amazon and Charles Schwab as well here in the Austin area.
Yes, sir. Well, let's get into it. So, tell us a little bit about your background, your education, and your desired career path.
Yeah, so my education, I've done a bachelor's in science in information systems management, and this was back in New York. I was at York College, and then I also went into grad school, so I did a master's in science and information systems and technology management at the George Washington University. As far as the desired career path, initially coming off in my introduction to computing, I always wanted to pursue a path in software development. So through my career journey, now what I really aspire is to two things really. The first thing is at some point I want to develop a consultancy where I can help teams who are delivering software. I can help them with like process improvements or whatever way they're working. Give them a little bit of coaching in the agile ways of delivering value. And I'm planning not only to focus on software teams. I think all these lessons I've learned is applicable to any team that works in delivering, whether it's a product or a service to customers. So I hope I can build that type of consultancy. And then my other aspects within my career path is to, I think you did mention something about underrepresentation of
Yes, sir.
minorities in tech and the lack of talent.
Mhm.
I'm originally from Zimbabwe. Yeah, that's where I grew up. So the experience that I had, from introduction to computing all the way up to now, I realized there's a challenge in bringing technology as a profession to people from similar backgrounds that I've had. And
Mhm.
what I would want to do is to participate in some shape or form to start bridging the gap between those skills, or whether it's the interest or just
Mhm.
having the access to resources for people from communities like I came from to be
Mhm.
exposed to more technology careers.
Yeah, and I'm glad you have that as your desired career path, and I'm glad for you to be a part of our organization as a volunteer because that's our mission, and that's
Yeah,
what we want to do is bridge that gap. So I'm glad to hear that.
yeah.
Um, So now we're going to talk a little bit. Tell us a little bit about your tech journey. Definitely, I love this picture. I love WWE, so we can get into that. But just tell us a little bit about your tech journey and stuff.
Yeah, it's a long journey. That's probably gonna expose my age pretty soon. But I'll start right from the beginning. Like I mentioned, in high school, that's where I got the passion to get into computing. Around about the time when Windows 95 came out, so you can maybe take a guess and calculate how old I am. But I was 15 then, and I got into this class for computing. Everything just clicked for me from the way we were doing systems design, sketching out flowcharts and mapping out all these diagrams, uh, coding, putting out applications. That everything that just clicked for me when I took that class, and I knew that this is what I wanted to do in life. But I had challenges. So one of the other things I was also good at in school was accounting. And
Hmm.
back in Zimbabwe, people who were good in accounting, it was almost set in stone that you would pursue a career path to what they called chartered accountancy. Um, it didn't help that I had family members who were really established chartered accountants. Um, it was kind of like that was the given thing to do. If you're not going to
Hmm.
become a doctor or a lawyer, you have to be a chartered accountant. Computing
Hmm.
was just like people were not aware of that. I remember one of the people in my neighborhoods actually told me that, hey, why do you want to pursue computing? Don't you know all you can do with this is just punch in data on a computer? And I was just surprised because I was like, haven't you heard of Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, all the amazing things people are doing in America with computers
Computing,
and
yeah,
the internet? So yeah, so there was just like lack of exposure to what
right.
computing could do and technology um, growing up. And then eventually, since I was kind of like destined to be an accountant, I actually got my break to get back into computing when I came to the US because I was now by myself. I could chart my own destiny. So as soon as I got into college, I switched into like information systems. And that's how I eventually picked up computing again. However, in the US, there were still challenges. Just, going through technology, education, looking for jobs and things like that. One of the things I remember as well was that another friend of mine here in the US now was telling me, and I mean, I think it's probably from misconception or just not awareness of like, hey, what the industry looks like. But I was like,
Hmm.
why are you doing computing? Why don't you do like nursing or something that black people are doing where there's more of them? And to me, I was just like amazed by how it was amazing because I knew that people were saying this not because they didn't care about what I wanted, but it's just
Hmm.
the exposure, right, into technology and what it could do. It it wasn't there in the community in the background that I came from, so I had to really chart out my own path, and I knew what it was going to do, so that really didn't phase me. But eventually, when I finished college, still in New York, I got into a job where it was more like infrastructure based infrastructure support. I was working for like a big Wall Street bank, Deutsche Bank, and we were doing project support for trading floors.
Hmm.
So if you have all these traders who are working on the trading floors, they need to get their computers and their software and everything set up early in the morning before they can start trading. So that's what I
Hmm.
was responsible for. I didn't like it because I wanted software development, but at the same time, it exposed me to the world of IT, the different applications that people use. It kind of like gave me an idea of where I would want to go if I eventually landed into software development. So that's why I went into grad school because I just didn't like where I was fitted at that point in time. So I went to
Hmm.
grad, figured I would learn more, add my knowledge, expand my network through grad school, and eventually after grad school, I landed my first software development oriented job. So I was an implementation consultant.
Hmm.
On that job, I was not only coding, but I was also exposed to the different aspects of delivering software solutions. So I would work with people like people in sales, people doing marketing, whenever they were doing bids to, sending out proposals to different potential clients, I would work with them, set up a demo to say, hey, this is what our product can do. Let's market it this way. I got exposed to the business side. And even when we finished a project, I would also get involved on the training side of people, like getting more engaged with the users who are using a solution,
Mhm.
showing them how to use it. And I also ended up being like a project manager on a site that had finished. So I was responsible for like site maintenance. And that's where really you get to see the impact of what you did. And you
Mhm.
get to see whether people are actually enjoying your software or people don't. And you get to hear all the gripes and everything. But it's good customer engagement because at least you get to understand what really matters when you're delivering software to people. Yeah, so that experience gave me an epiphany. I guess that was my first epiphany in software development. I think I've had many of them, but I realized that all the technical knowledge that I'd gained and the technical skills that I'd got and exposed to, there was still something missing in delivering solutions to customers. And for me, it felt like the way projects were executed,
Mhm.
or there was something missing there, and that kind of like drove me towards the execution side and the delivery of software development. And I switched roles into becoming a Scrum Master. So as a Scrum Master, I was able to start working with teams, showing them agile ways of delivering Scrum teams. And I was also, later on, as my experience grew, I was able to start coaching teams that were
Mhm.
switching from different ways of delivering, like waterfall, into agile methods, and also working with different roles and people in leadership, different stakeholders of IT teams, like people in marketing and sales, to just show them how you can collaborate and work together in an
Mhm.
agile way to deliver solutions. So, you know, after I was a Scrum Master, I had another epiphany, and this time I was talking to a friend of mine. I just had my first kid. You may hear them in the background. There's two kids now, but my firstborn, when he when he was born, I was at this point in life. I think when you have your first child, you just have all these life changing moments. You start thinking you're wise and all that.
I've
So I
heard. I've
started.
heard. I don't have kids, but I heard it. It's a switch inside of you that makes
Yeah.
you get to really thinking. Yes.
Yeah, something just clicks in you. And for me, that's when I had my second epiphany. I was like, you know what? Um, I've seen the, technical side of things. I've seen the delivery and execution side of things in software, but there's still something missing. And I just happened to start a conversation with another colleague of mine, um, who had her baby at the same, I think it was a week apart with mine.
Mhm.
So we are talking about babies, and then eventually it started talking about careers. And I was explaining my epiphany. I was like, you know what? I've done all these things, but what I see missing is when teams are delivering, there's really no understanding of the reason why they're doing it. Why do customers benefit, or like, hey, why is this better than this? Like,
Mhm.
what's the reason driving all this work, and what does the product really do? So I knew there was something, a gap in product that I could do and engage in, and I also wanted to get myself more hands-on in product management. As a Scrum Master and Agile coach, I was more like theoretical, talking about, hey, this is how you do product, blah blah blah. But I wanted to get my hands dirty so that I can, next time when I get into that position of coaching, at least I speak from integrity. So as we were talking about that, it so happened that they were hiring for a product manager at a workplace, and that's how eventually I switched into product management from baby talk.
Wow.
So yeah, so that's pretty much have been my journey as far as like the experience from high school computer class to product management. But the
Mhm.
one thing I wanted to plug in there was that picture you were talking about. um, so in tech, one of the things that happens is that, especially when you're coming from a minority background, you'll notice that you may be the only black person in the room. You're the only person of color, working with different other teammates, and it may push you to think that you have to do so much to prove yourself, right? To say, hey, I really belong here. I'm not just a diversity hire. You you may end up like burning yourself out, putting a lot of hours in, lack of sleep, whatever it is, you may start ignoring your own physical and mental health. So at this point in my life, after I left Atlassian, I also got into that position where I was like, hey, I need to get my next job. I have to like, start sending out applications and all that. But at the same time, I got injured. I got a knee injury, and
Mhm.
I had to like get myself back into shape. So it was a matter of like, hey, do you want to like focus on your work, get a job, or do you want to make sure you get healthy? So one of
Mhm.
the things within my tech journey that I've come to realize, I've also been burnt out, uh, but I quickly realized that you need to take care of yourself. No one's gonna do that for you. So
Mhm.
whether it's physically going to the gym, whatever it is, mentally, seek counseling or just having good support network, whatever it is, you do also need to take care of yourself. Wellness is a very, very important aspect of your career because if you're not healthy, you're not going to be able to do your job right. So,
Right.
so that's kind of like where that picture comes into play because I think wellness is often neglected, but you
Yeah.
kind of have to throw it in the mix of whatever you're planning to do with your career.
Yeah, I'm glad you shared that because I feel like um, a lot of people that are working, whether it be whatever job it may be, I do feel like mental health is definitely ignored and physical health is definitely ignored because a lot of us are set and stuck into grind mode that we need to make money, we need to work in order to help ourselves live. But there's also that balance that we need to find, whether it comes with mental or physical health. So I'm glad that you shared that because I feel like that is not talked about enough in a lot of industries or just talked about in general. Before we move forward, I do want to ask. You talked about you moving from a different country to the United States. How was
Yep.
that transition? Was it challenging to come from a different country, come here, get into that grind, learn more, go to college in a whole nother country? Tell me a little bit about that.
Oh yeah, it's if you've ever had the term of culture shock, it's real. Especially when you're coming from anywhere and then you're going to New York City. So New York City life is pretty fast. Like as soon as I got into New York, I was like, why are these people mad? Like they always look like they're upset, they're
Yeah.
angry, they just like stone cold faced. I was like, what's going on with people in New York? But it takes it takes time. Like I think with any place or anywhere in the world, once you get to live and experience what everyone is going through together, you kind of like start understanding, like, oh yeah, this is why things are this way. You kind of like start, walking with the New York swag. You kind of like start understanding what's going down, why people are just busy. It's not like they don't want to talk to you. They just have a lot of things that they're super focused on. And even like I used to think they were rude, but then I understood like, hey, people just are blunt here. They just talking. They're not like they don't have time for small talk. They're really trying to get to the next thing. People have
Right.
two, three jobs that they're trying to juggle in a day. So yeah, so the experience was at first a culture shock because you're so used to what you grew up with, and which
Hmm.
is different from anywhere you go. Um, but I think at least what helped me was like just being friends with the people around you. It definitely helps you to ease in because sometimes you can easily just feel like, oh man, let me just isolate myself. These people are not friendly. So I was lucky enough. I had people who were friendly, and I also remember there was a guy from Nigeria. He was born here,
Hmm.
but he grew up in Nigeria, so he came at the same time as I did into college, and we just quickly clicked. And he kind of like helped me to navigate a lot of places in New York and societies, because I think he had the experience of both worlds, Nigeria and the
Hmm.
U.S. So he kind of like knew how to navigate, and that kind of really helped. So I would say, anyone in that situation, just make friends, especially local friends. They can help you to blend easily.
Right. I'm glad you were able to answer that because we do have a lot of Automites around the world that might be interested in moving to anywhere or even the United States. So
Hmm.
I'm happy to hear that you have that experience and were able to um, add on to how that journey was. All right, moving forward. You told us a lot about your background, your journey, your education. What are some things that you would do differently?
Yeah, there's a lot. I only put three there because I think those are the top first three things that came into my mind. But I've learned a lot through time. I think the first thing I would definitely say is that as I was like in college going into like trying to look for a job after my undergrad,
Hmm.
I did mention I ended up at a different type of job which was not software development, although
Hmm.
I learned from it. Um, what I could have done differently, I think what could have actually landed me straight from college into software development was if I had worked on a portfolio that kind of like was hands on into the skills, the coding skills that I was trying to get myself into a job for. I would have, had a better presentation of my
Mhm.
skills, whether I was in interviews or even like when I'm looking for a job on something to put on your resume. Building a portfolio would have worked well for me. And on top of that, if I had actively sought for mentors that were able to help me build that portfolio, I think that would have actually been really great. So, that's one thing I definitely would have done differently. Um, the second thing, looking at how I was able to, connect, I talked about the friends that I met, whether it was undergrad or grad school.
Mhm.
Some of them had businesses, some of them had like different things they were doing on the side, whether it was consulting or whatever. I did not really take advantage of that. I did not maximize my exposure to what they were doing professionally. So I think if I could do something different, I could have like contributed to their businesses. Like a friend of mine, he had a business in the security industry, mainly
Mhm.
focused on video capture, saving some of those things on servers, and he was like managing the technology side of things. Um, I went. I mean, we had lunch together. I would go to his family's house. I went to his wedding. Like, he was a good buddy of mine. But
Yeah.
I just never thought of like, saying, hey man, can I look into your business? Can I just like, buddy up with you for one day, show me what you do.
Yeah.
What do you think I can help you with in your company? Um,
Mhm.
Things like that. I could have got myself exposed to other opportunities that I
Mhm.
wasn't aware of, and I think it would just have helped me to build my knowledge as well within technology. And then the third, not last though, last but not least, but the third one here, I would have, you know, I've volunteered before. There's organizations that I've joined, but I think to make a difference, I could have actually taken leadership roles in those organizations that I've volunteered at.
Mhm.
Particularly looking for um, any organizations that focus on the profession that I want. Right now, I'm with AUTMHQ right now because they kind of like focus on one of my passions, right, bridging that tech gap.
Good stuff.
I'm also I work participate with the Agile Austin community, the special interest groups that I joined. But thinking back, like I'm doing it now, I could have done that 10, 20 years ago when I was still in school, and actually taken up any leadership roles. Because one of the things you'll realize as soon as you start working with any of these professional organizations and nonprofits is that there's a lot of work that they could use help with. And
Mhm.
if you just volunteer and say, hey, do you need someone to help you? Maybe it's just a treasury role, or maybe it's just a marketing, whatever it is. Like, if you take up a leadership role, you can definitely build up some of the other skills that you need in your career.
Mhm.
So, volunteering, don't just stop at doing the work, but also try to go further and take a leadership role because it can
Mhm.
help you build up some more skills.
Yeah, I like all these tips that some things you do differently. I like that you said all these. I feel like in college, people who did go build or go to college didn't really build a portfolio. I
Yeah.
feel like that isn't discussed a lot for people who go to college because I know I didn't have a portfolio until like I started getting into working or even thinking about building a portfolio, which actually helps you in a lot of job opportunities in general, showcasing what
Mhm.
you can do. Um,
Yeah.
I also feel like your second one, contributing to your peers, businesses and side hustles. I do feel like a lot of people have friends that are either entrepreneurs or in a field that they want to get into or thinking about getting into, but don't take that step or that opportunity to communicate with them to try to, build off of that. Um,
Hmm.
it's not that, you're shy or nervous. It's just a lot of people don't think about that this could also
Yeah.
be an opportunity for you to network or just even gain some more insight. So definitely glad that you shared those three things.
Cool.
Um,
Cool.
lastly, you talked about your journey. You told us about your education. You told us things you do differently, what would be your biggest piece of advice for someone who's wanting to get into tech?
Yeah, my advice, is all about learning. I'm a learner. I take advantage of anything, whether it's reading or just watching a documentary or just going to experience something. I always feel like you can learn from any situation you are in. Take for instance, like right now, I'm in between jobs, looking for the next good thing, but I'm still working with AUTMHQ to look at how they can craft a course on AI, even
Mhm.
like cater it towards product managers and project management. Um, you know, anywhere you are in, like in this situation, I probably wouldn't have had the time to read and look into AI if I was working. So any
Mhm.
situation you're in, just learn, like take the advantage of it and learn whatever you can, because it actually sets you up to do better. And whatever you're
Mhm.
trying to do as your next step, when you learn something, you grow. Knowledge is power. So, yeah, don't stop learning. Like the minute you stop learning, you stop being curious. You're only limiting yourself.
Mhm.
And if I could put that into a quote, I try to say, learn continuously, and from any
Mhm.
situation you're in, it sets you up for the next step towards your life goals. So when you stop learning, you're only blocking your own growth.
Yeah, I love that quote. I do feel like a lot of people that are working or in the current position that they're in, they don't tend to try to learn more,
Yeah,
um, or they're just okay with being where they're at. But they might
yeah,
want to advance their career, but they're not taking those necessary steps. So I think, for example,
yeah,
me, I need to start doing more certifications, staying up to date, look at other
mhm,
certifications I can, learn more about social media. That goes for just really anyone.
yeah,
But I'm glad you shared that because learning is the next step for you to advance your life and your own career.
yeah.
Um,
It's true.
I think there's a question from Akwande. Looking at some things I do differently, are there no positives or gains during that period? If there are or is, can you share?
Um, yeah. Definitely. I think the positives, they are probably hidden as well within those things I would do differently. I think the positive things that have come out from my experiences is, working with people. I think treating people as people has given me an edge in how I work with people, because when you come to a job, right, most it's very easy to be just focused on, yeah, I need to do my job. I have task 1, 2, 3. I want to get promoted. I want to make so much money in the job. You can quickly focus on that, but one of the positive things that I think has helped me throughout my career path is just treating people as people, no matter what. Like it could be the person when you walk into the building, the person who's security, opening the doors, even the people who's cleaning, doing janitorial work. Talk to people, be friends with them, because your people skills will enable you to work with others better. Like there are often times when you work on a team, you have people who are not um, versatile in terms of like working with people, and at
Mhm.
times they often conflict with their teammates. And even if they're good or talented, sometimes they get limited in advancing simply because you didn't know how to work, or just, getting along with people fine. So the biggest positive I would say within my experience is, you know, treat people as people, no matter what the position, no matter what team or organization they're working in, because you never know what's going to happen. They may need help from you, you may need help from them, or you both of you together may help something else. So as long as you realize the people aspect, I think that's one of the things that has catapulted me in my career to move forward. Despite all those other things I said, I wish I could have done. But I think
Right.
just realizing this people aspect to working has
Mhm.
definitely helped me.
All right. Akawande, I hope that answers your question. Um, Ending off, that concludes for our Horizons tonight. Nigel, thank you so much for being here tonight. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for telling us about your journey. Um, Always a pleasure to have you, and thank you for being a part of our organization. So
Thank,
we'll end off
thank,
saying goodbye.
yeah, thank you for having me, and I hope it landed well for everyone else there and give some inspiration.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for your time.
All right.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes. If you're wanting to share your tech journey or share your story with us, please feel free to scan the QR code and submit a form. If you don't know if you want to share it or want to submit a form at this moment, please take the time, contact the AUTMHQ team through email or through social media. We would love to have you and love to have you also tell us about your journey. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. Please follow us on social media to see our latest updates. Visit our website to see our next Horizons event. And until next time, thank you, everyone.